Hey, welcome back to another Haven't Read It video. The allergies are kicking my butt this week. Today we're going to do some malicious compliance, and the first story of the day is called, We Just Followed the Rules. Working in IT, me and my friend had a decent gig. Nothing crazy, just coding, fixing bugs, the usual. Our manager, let's call her Karen. She had her rules, sure, but nothing too wild. Until one day, she dropped the new policy. No more working on multiple tasks at once, she said. Focus on one thing at a time, complete it, then move on. On paper, made sense. Less context switching, more efficiency. In reality, absolute nightmare. We tried to explain, hey, sometimes we need to switch while waiting on approvals or testing. She shut us down. No, stick to the task. No exceptions. Okay then. A week in, tickets piled up. We were stuck waiting on feedback with nothing to do. Customers got mad. Deadlines slipped. We tried again. Look, this isn't working. You're just not adapting, she snapped. So we adapted by doing exactly what she wanted. No multitasking. If we hit a block, we sat there. No side tasks, no quick fixes, just waiting. Then the backlog exploded. Managers higher up noticed. Clients complained. One day, Karen got called into a meeting. She came back looking different. Next morning, email from HR. She was out. New manager came in. First thing he said, hey, so you guys work how you used to, yeah? Yeah, we do. That is ridiculous. Even when she saw that it wasn't working out, she pushed it. Top comment says, honestly, I would have jumped at the chance to not do anything while my code was compiling. I'd have emailed them to confirm to get things in black and white and just chilled out and enjoy life. Next top comment says, some people are so stubborn, they would rather self-destruct than admit that something isn't working. Ooh, we get a little story with this comment. LOL, very nice. I wish my malicious compliance was this good. I work security and permission to go off site to grab lunch. Apparently when I put in my report, my time leaving and coming back, it left a gap that a manager didn't like. He said, explain the time frame for this gap of time. Okay. So I googled the walking directions from where I started until getting back. I put how many feet, direction of travel, which directions I turned, etc. Never got asked again for an explanation. OP says, LOOOOL, so good. Next story of the day, how I set up my boss by following his orders. Recently, my friend told me a story from his life that's a perfect fit for malicious compliance, and I decided to share it from his perspective. This happened about 5 years ago when I was working at a small tech repair shop. Our boss was this guy named Sergey, a classic control freak who thought being the boss made him smarter than everyone else. He didn't know squat about tech, but loved sticking his nose in and telling us how to do our jobs. Usually, us guys in the shop would just nod and do it our way, but this time I decided to play by his rules, and here's what came of it. We got an order to fix an old industrial printer. Rare beast, bulky, barely any manuals, but I'd worked on a couple before, so I knew right away what was wrong. A clog in one of the feed gears and a worn out belt. Disassemble, clean, swap a few parts, 5 hours tops. I laid out the plan for Sergey. He listened, then launched into his usual, no, you don't get it. It's an electrical issue. You need to check the board. Test everything with a multimeter. I'm the boss here. Do it my way. I tried explaining it was mechanical, but he started yelling that I was young, cocky, and clueless. And if I didn't follow his orders, I could go home without pay. Fine, I thought. You're the boss. You know best. Grabbed the multimeter, took the printer apart, down to the last screw, and started testing every circuit on the board. Exactly like he told me. It was slow, tedious, and totally pointless, because I knew from the start the board wasn't the issue. But I didn't just test it, I documented everything for a report, wrote down readings, snapped pics of every step, even sketched diagrams so Sergey could see how obedient I was. Took me 2 full days when I could have fixed it in half a day. Finally, I stroll up to him with a stack of papers and say, Sergey, checked it all, board's fine, what now? He turned red as a beet. The client had already called, furious about the delay. At that point, he figured I'd sabotaged him on purpose, though he dug his own grave, and barked at me to deal with the mechanics since you're so smart. I shrugged, went back, cleaned the gears, swapped the belt, the stuff I planned to do all along. A day later, the printer was done. Client was happy, but Sergey looked like he'd been through a week-long spin cycle. After that, he tried bossing me around a couple more times, but I'd just ask, like with that printer, your way? And he'd shut up real quick. Moral of the story. Sometimes it's better to let someone dig their own hole than argue. I knew I was right, but I complied out of spite. And he ended up screwing himself. Still crack up thinking about his face after that report. Top comment says, With this one, I could see him being after billable hours. An unethical business practice to be sure, but I'm sure there are plenty out there that will do what they can to drive up cost. Next comment says, gotta be electronics cause I don't know nothing about that kind of stuff, thought Sergey. This comment says, I died with that week-long spin cycle. This comment's a little story. Me editing a clip for a TV show. Producer over my shoulder has a tendency to micromanage to an obscene degree. So this time, instead of fighting him, I decided to do every single note he requested. First, I duplicated my sequence and clearly labeled it with my name. Then I renamed the second one with the producer's initials. I think we spent over an hour doing what we editors call frame fucking. One more frame left. No, 2 more frames right. No, 1 frame left. I didn't argue a single time, just pressed the button. We finished. He talked about how great his changes were, and we went home for the day, well past my normal time to go home hour. Next day, he wants to see both versions, one after the other. When done, he crows about his superior vision, the one we just watched, and how great it is. I point out that the one he liked was the one with my name on it. He got pissed, accused me of swapping labels on the 2 cuts. I assured him I had not, and I thanked him for the overtime pay I'd accrued the night before. He was on salary. He stormed out right about then. I like this comment. It is better to show that you are right than to argue you are right. 4th story of the day, my coffee malicious compliance story. So, many years ago, I had just gotten hired on as a rookie firefighter at a moderate-sized city in the southeastern United States. Other than the typical ribbing that rookies always get, my probie year was not bad. There was, however, a lieutenant that no one liked at all. And what do you know? I got assigned to his engine company for a 3-month rotation. He demanded that I was to do all the station chores, which is normal, and he threatened to give me poor evals if I did not have coffee ready at all times for the senior firefighters. This was not normal, and the rest of the engine company knew this. Me being a rookie and not wanting a bad eval, note that I am not a coffee drinker, I decided to give him what he wanted, but as a non-coffee drinker, would make coffee. I absolutely filled the coffee filter to the rim, like I had to scrape it off level at the top. I then proceeded to use about 1/2 to 3/4 of the amount of water needed. The resulting coffee was so strong and so thick, you just about had to cut a piece off after you poured it. Completely undrinkable. 2 times. It took 2 times. And I was ordered not to make coffee anymore. I got terrific evals as well. Top comment says, sounds like my only attempt to make coffee in college. I was told to make a pot of coffee, explain I've never made coffee. I was told just to put some coffee in the filter, some water in the tank, and turn it on. So I put the filter in, figured it should be sized for how much coffee I needed, added the water and turned it on. I was told my coffee was not just strong, it was mean too. Next top comment. I'm guessing that nobody in the firehouse was ex-Navy, otherwise they would have demanded that only you make it from then on. Someone responds, an elderly coworker of mine was a Navy vet who served on a battleship. He said that when we went to battle stations, the coffee was made by flashing live steam through the coffee urn, resulting in coffee, a cup of which would keep you up for 24 hours. Someone responds, that's basically espresso. Final story of the day. You want the spotlight? Enjoy. In university, we had a team project on programming. I was unlucky with my partner. He kept slacking off and did absolutely nothing. I tried to get him involved, but all I heard was the same thing. I'll do it later. I don't understand. But you're better at this. Okay, fine. I did everything myself. During the defense, I was supposed to present the project and answer questions while he just stood there, nodding and pretending to understand. I even explained the main points to him so he wouldn't look completely lost. And then, just a second before I stepped forward, this individual jumps in front of me and throwing over his shoulder says, I'll do everything, you just enjoy it, and steps onto the stage. All right, I complied. It was fun. He crumbled within the first minutes. He stumbled, mixed up terms, and explained the code wrong. The professor started grilling him with questions, and he just dug himself deeper into a hole. Eventually, they turned to me. Can you explain? Without emotion, I replied, sure, as my partner already explained, and gave a clear explanation of the project, looking perfect in contrast to him. I got a great grade, he got penalty assignments and a public dressing down from the professors. And yes, his lady in the audience looked at him as though he died right on stage. And no, this isn't the story where the strong take advantage of the weak. I was a healthy first-year student, and he was a skinny, weak, but overconfident student whose boldness outweighed his physical size. Top comment says, that question is so simple, why my chauffeur could answer it. Einstein. OP makes a second top comment. By the way, he ultimately failed his exams in the second year and was expelled. Up until that point, he had shown some very ugly behavior, from manipulating insecure girls to make them do his work, to outright plagiarism towards other teammates. He was like a cartoonish character whose existence is hard to believe. Has any of you encountered something like this? Someone responds, sounds like a lot of guys I met my freshman year in college. White bread rich suburbanites who never had to work hard at all. The first and second year attrition was pretty steep, even for the kids' parents who were paying retail for their education. I like this comment. You could have left out those last couple sentences. Someone replies, agreed, taking shots at someone's health and physical size was unnecessary, at best, and detracted from the rest of the story. So true. The next comment says, these people exist in virtual courses as well. Whenever there was a group project, you could count on at least one person dropping the ball and ghosting the team. They'd reappear right before the due date, explaining that a family had cancer and they needed care. So many people with cancer. This comment's great. Group project teaching nothing more than to not trust people. Last comment of the story, you studied, he slacked off. No idea where you think we'd think you were abusing him for his own stupidity. Thanks for listening, everybody. This tree pollen in the south is really kicking my butt. It is crazy. It's almost like somebody spray painted the ground yellow. And I just happen to be sitting outside under one of those pine trees. Anyway, have a good rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.